Hello, everyone. Delighted to see you, and thank you for your patience moving between our two Shabbat events. So thank you, Josie, for opening. So everyone, we just had Shabbatot for our tiniest members of the congregation. We just had a moment of Badikat Hametz, where we used a spoon and a feather and a candle to both find Hametz, but also to talk a little bit more about the spiritual preparation we might choose to do for Pesach. That's not only about what we refrain from eating. So I finished too late to be able to get to you, everyone. So, to be able to get to synagogue. So Dean is going to be on the beamer in a moment. We are hearing an echo from FPS, from, I think, me talking. We can hear that. So just letting David and Michael know that. So a huge Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Wishing you well as we go into Shalom Aleichem to welcome each other.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Amravi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachim L'Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Amravi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch L'Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Amravi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem L'Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Amravi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Thank you so much, Dean. Now, for those of us, I have already lit my candles with the community that came just before. So I'm going to ask Michael and Dean to light the candles in the sanctuary. And all of you at home who have not yet lit your candles, please do so. Usher in Shabbat. Whatever this week has been for you, let go of it. Whether it has been a frantic week of preparation, for all kinds of preparation, then let go of it. Have a moment of peace as we light the candles, say the blessings together. Just waiting for the ones in the synagogue. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Shabbat Shalom to you as we go to Yedid Nefesh on page 78.
Yedid Nefesh of Harachaman, of Harachaman. Meshochavtecha, Eretz Onecha, Eretz Onecha. Yedid Nefesh of Harachaman, of Harachaman. Meshochavtecha, Eretz Onecha, Eretz Onecha. ושוק עבדך, ארץ עונך, ארץ עונך.
This is a treat for me to see you, Dean, on the bima and hear the music coming from there as I calm down from our Shabbatot. So let's offer L'chadodi all together. I love how in our congregation we manage to have different moods on a Friday evening. And here we offer now L'chadodi. You can reach it on page 91.
לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, ונתנה שבת לקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, ונתנה שבת לקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, ונתנה שבת לקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, ונתנה שבת לקבלה. במחשבה תחילה לה 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 לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה התעוררי התעוררי נראה עורף אורי אורי שדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לה 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 לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה לה 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 לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה לך לך דודי לקראת לקראת קלה ונתנה שבת לקבלה.
So having welcomed Shabbat, welcomed each other, I'm loving your messages in the chat of how it feels to have all of us together as a congregation. Let's go into the Baruch Hu. You can just follow smoothly on page 92. So I'm going to share a prayer written by Rabbi Mark Solomon that I shared this morning for our morning meditation group, an anniversary year of us meeting every weekday morning, Tuesday to Friday, since last March the 26th. So Mark Solomon writes for this blessing of light and darkness before the Shema. You form light and create darkness. As time is a tapestry of day and night, our lives are a weaving of light and dark. Like a slow dawn, we discover who we are. Like twilight, we linger in doubt and anxiety. We endure nights of rejection by others and ourselves and bright days of acceptance and joy in who we are. You make peace and create everything. We look around and see a world of endless change and diversity as we rejoice in the variety of creation. We come to accept our own uniqueness. As we delight in our own uniqueness, we appreciate all of human diversity, and we live at peace with ourselves and with all creation. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv, Aravi. So when you're ready, come with into our watchword of faith. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed.
Ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha, uv'chol nafshecha, uv'chol mo'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi matzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, uv'leftecha b'derech, uv'shofbecha uv'kumecha, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Thank you, Dean. So easy for us to affirm the words of the Shema when they're sung like that in our congregation. Emet ve'emunah kol zot v'kayam aleinu ki hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ein zulato v'anachnu Yisrael amo hapodenu miyad melachim hagoalenu mikaf kol ha'artzim v'yotze et amo Yisrael mimitzrayim lecherut olam v'ra'u v'anav gvurato shibchu v'hodu lishmo u'malchuto b'ratzon kiblu alehem lecha anu shera b'simcha rabba va'amru kulam. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל Yisrael. And now this evening, let's offer Hashkivenu, our evening prayer for a Shabbat Shalom, a structure of peace, of ease, of just domestic ease for us in our homes as we go into Pesach, as we know the benefit of being safe from famine, from despair, from illness, and maybe a year in to this extraordinary journey we've been on as a people, as a country, as global citizens. We can offer a thanksgiving for being safe.
Dean is muted.
Yeah, Dean got muted, Michael and David. Can you help us with that? Baruch atah Adonai, hapore sukat shalom, aleinu v'al kol yoshvei tevel. So let's together go into the tefillah. We're on page 97.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agim tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agim tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imochot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei v'Nehem, L'ma'an Shemo b'Yahava, Melech Hoseh u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, Machaye meitim atah Rav laHoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morit hageshem, Mazriach hashemesh u'morit hatal. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Machaye meitim berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, U'mati asurim, U'makayem emunato lishnei afa. Mi chamocha ba'al gvorot, umi domelach, melech meimit u'machaye u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot meiti, baruch ata Adonai, machaye hameti. Kadosh ata v'nora shamecha, ve'en lanu Eloah mibaladecha, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el, hakadosh. So as we mark Shabbat, Baruch atah Adonai Makadesh HaShabbat, just what Shabbat brings to us. For some reason, I keep going back to Achad Ha'am's adage that more than Jews have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews. And just for those of us who've chosen to be regular, to mark our time when life felt so different, when we, for some of us, didn't leave the house for work, where we weren't able to go anywhere else, just how Shabbat, both Friday night and Saturday, Shabbat morning, allowed these markers of time as we worked our way through the week to stop the mundanity of life being the same. So as we offer that final blessing for Shabbat, we praise you, O God, for the holiness of Shabbat. The efficacy of our prayers, not that we as liberal Jews believe that the words of our prayers will come true, will be fulfilled for good, not that we think those who are the object of our prayers have any better chance at life than those who are not prayed for. But what we do know is that prayer works by us being a congregation, by us coming together to do it, to offer the same words, to offer our own heart's intention, kavanah, to the ancient liturgy that we breathe new life into every service. For that reason, prayer works. Ratzei Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadacha b'yirah na'avod. So as always, let me invite you to add anything into the chat that you feel grateful for, that you can appreciate, that uncomplicated moments of blessing in your life that you can share with us, your community. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, le'olam va'ed. Tzur hayenu, magen yishenu, ata hu ledovado, nodeh lecha נספר תהילתך, על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך שבכל עת, ערב ובוקר וצהריים. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך, ולך נאה להודות. We pray and offer gratitude for the source of all peace. Let's take a few moments for silent prayer and reflection. For me, tonight, I feel myself thinking back through all the different Pesach moments in my life and all the Sedarim the past 50 in my life of where I've been, I invite you to do the same. I think of the one when I was 18 years old in an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood in Jerusalem, not realizing we'd be there until 4 a.m, and then having to walk our way back through Jerusalem, me and one friend, before we were taking our Passover spring break trip. I recall that. I recall being an exchange student in Belgium at the age of 14, being invited to a Seder, all in French, which I battled my way through. I think of the Sedarim that I've led in different congregations. I think of last year's Zoom Seder that I thought, along with all of you, would be a flash in the ocean that we would never, ever repeat. And here we are. And perhaps it will be easier for us this year because we've become so confident at this way of communicating with each other. So I invite you to think back to challenging Seders, to happier Seders, to Seders with those that you loved, to Seders in years where you were not able to be with loved ones, just to reflect and think about the Seders of past. Actually, I just saw Andrea Collett's name come up, and I'm remembering that her mother used to write in the book, in the recipe book, or in the Haggadah that everyone kept, and the Seder plate with the papers under the Seder plate of how everyone was every year of Seder. Seder seems a marker for all of us of just marking where we are in life as we sit down at this meal together. So I invite you to think a little about that.
Ratson, Hirefi, Vegan Libi, Lefanecha, Adonai Turi, Vegali, Adonai Turi, Vegali, Ratson, Hirefi, Vegan Libi, Lefanecha, Adonai Turi, Vegali, Adonai Turi, Vegali. Say shalom bimroma, Uya say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. Say shalom bimroma, Uya say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei
I am loving these stories of Passovers, of setting the house on fire with the candles, of the cat eating the carrots off the top of the filter fish. Keep bringing them on. No doubt the more you remember those, maybe you will enjoy this year's even more. Leslie buying cooked carp this year that reminds her of her mother. Lovely, lovely memories. Thank you so much. So let us take a moment now as we go to Aleinu, as we think about the world as it could be. We as a congregation are going to begin a mental health listening campaign along with many other institutions in Barnet, with the recognition that this past year, the pandemic has been particularly brutal to young people and their mental health. And so we've made a decision that we, alongside Finchley Reform, the Somali Bravanese, Hendon School, Middlesex University, Masorti Judaism, will try to do some work to lobby our local council about better resources for mental health provisions for young people. And we will begin by having conversations within our own community. And you will see that happening at Café Evriar, at Delving into Judaism, in all the places where we gather and learn and talk together. So I mention this only as we think of Aleinu. Aleinu is building a world that is better. Looking forward to that. And with Elijah coming at the end of the Seder, we are reminded that it is us that does that. So Aleinu can be found on page 520.
Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, ונור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, נור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים מודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, מושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. אמת מלכנו, אפס זולתו, הכתוב בתורתו ליד הטיון, והשב אותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. אין עוד, אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Community bereavements and yard sites that fall this Shabbat. We turn to remind you that Kaddish is on page 524. We think particularly of the death of Israel Charlie Dalton, who died at the beginning of the week, father of Mitchell and Laurel, grandfather and great-grandfather long-term member of our congregation. The yard sites that fall this Shabbat: Nesta Elias, mother of Jan Anticone, Joyce Sherwood, mother of Peggy Sherwood, Sadie Halevi Pruth, grandmother, and Bertha Levis, aunt of Josie Kinchin, Simon Slater, brother of Roger Slater, and David Urbach, brother of Leslie Urbach. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, and may all those who recall and remember their loved ones be comforted in their loss, as we say the words of the Kaddish with them. Kadash Shamei Rabbah, V'yama divrach Yehutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayachon v'yomechon, V'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala v'zman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mavorach le'olam almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitada v'yitalei v'yitalal Shmei d'kudusha brichu. Leila min kol berchata v'sherata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiram v'yama v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shamaya. Yaleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol bnei Adam v'imru. Amen. Andrea, I've just seen that you've added in the chat that you are remembering your cousin Anthony Miller. Zichrono livracha. So let's all of us go now as a way of blessing each other, ourselves, our children, our parents, anyone in our household, but most of all, we are blessing each other as members of our congregation. I invite you to turn to follow Dean on page 563, and you can gather your wine, your challah, last challah for a while before we say Kiddush.
Elohim k'Ephraim b'ki Menashe Yisimeh Elohim k'Sara Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'eh Adonai panav elecha tichunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha V'yasem lecha shalom Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'eh Adonai panav elecha tichunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha V'yasem lecha shalom V'yasem lecha shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Now, I tried to see if I could put, as promised, a message of sloths in the chat, and I couldn't, but I am going to screen share so you can see a picture of the sloths. Marion's already said our boys arrived safely last night, and we just have to show you a quick baby picture of a sloth in a tree. So the boys managed to find a sloth. Apparently they're not allowed to take pictures of themselves with the sloths, obviously for paparazzi reasons, but the sloths are allowed to be photographed themselves. So there is their first sloth they're meeting. So my friends, do you have wine? Do you have whiskey? Whatever you are saying Kiddush over, We will offer Kiddush here. Christine in California has her coffee, obviously. So whoever has their wine. Oh, Catherine, you're here. So Catherine, our two boys, Catherine, Marion, and I, saw our boys off yesterday to Costa Rica to work there for a few months, and they are there safely. So are we ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho yahavav ratzon himhilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit Ki hu yom tehila lamikraye kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'ahavta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon himchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. And who has their chalot, last challah? Last week. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Wishing you a good Shabbat and see you at the other side of Shabbat for Pesach. Hoping everyone is well and managed.